What's up, YouTube? What's going on, everybody, man? Welcome to another episode of The Story of Season 3. Y'all know my name. I am Manny Lagunas. As always, if you don't know, you won't know. I'm going to let you know. I'm joined by my co host, none other than the one, the only Michael, not Jackson, not Tyson, not Jordan, game six. Unfortunately, it's Michael Bowie. Michael, what's going on, bro?
Mm, it's going. I just if you could next time keep your intro short like your height, that would be great. But thank you so much for having me here and having Manny here to share his story on the story of Emmanuel Pierce. Emmanuel, how are you? You're muted.
I'm well. The next time I need you to intro as the story of the realest one to ever live, breathe, move, walk, talk, speak, think. That's what I need my intro to be the next time.
No problem. I will keep
Appreciate
that
you.
intro in mind the next time I do the intro of the story of Michael Bowie season 2. Thank you so much for being here. Last week we talked about your days in high school,
That's
freshman
right.
and sophomore year. We talked a lot about the things that went on, and we could continue that into your junior and your senior year. However, the thing is that you went to a completely different high school for your junior and senior year. Things changed. So to me, it's almost like asking the same kinds of questions that we need to know because the experience is almost exactly the same. You know, when you came into ninth grade, you didn't know anybody and you had to learn and make new friends and new role models and bad role models and everything. So I'm sure that process restarted. But then there's a little bit more because you're finishing high school at that point. So now we have to not only find out how it started, we have to figure out how it ended with high school. So because that's a 4-year process. So now we are into junior and senior year. Tell us a little bit about that experience. Where did you go? How was that going to another school? Were you easily accepted? I know that you said that you ran into a lot of difficulties in terms of like getting to know people. There's a lot of people, 6 floors and everything else. What was the experience like at this school?
So coming from Cass, I went to John F. Kennedy High School in Taylor, Michigan. Go Eagles. Um, my experience. Okay, so it's kind of weird, right? Because I most people in high school, they only experience one thing. You're either popular for a long time, you're kind of in that middle crowd, or you're just not popular, right? So my first 2 years, I wasn't like popular at all. I was not in that crowd.
At
And
Casper.
that shifted for me when I got to Kennedy. Um, Mainly because I was on the football team. So before I even started school, I already had friends built in because we had been practicing
Okay.
for the whole summer before that. So that was the main difference. Is like I came into school with already knowing people. That was the first thing. But I still had to make other connections with other classmates that weren't on the football team. Like I don't think I had a single class with anybody who was on the football team my first semester at Kennedy. Um, so yeah, I mean it was a different experience. And then like I said, the flip of that, I was popular at Kennedy as opposed to not being at Cass. So like I've seen both sides of that equation. Yeah, it was very interesting that first class. I remember my first class was algebra. I do not remember the teacher's name at all. Please forgive me. Yeah, but I remember my first class is algebra and that weird feeling like like just in ninth grade when I walked in my first class, I was like, okay, I'm in a class with a bunch of people I do not know. And they all kind of already got relationships, because they've been going to school with each other for 2 years. So they all know each other, and I'm just this new kid walking in the classroom, and everybody's like, "Who is that?"
So was that
So
difficult inside of that room to even either you open up to them and say hello, my name is Manny, or vice versa? Who kind of made that first initial introduction?
I guess it kind of happened, or I wouldn't say I opened up. I think people opened up to me once they realized that I was on the football team. Like when I got to, because the story of how I became Manny is I was never called Manny until I got to Kennedy.
They didn't call you
Nope.
George at Kennedy?
No. I was never called Manny until I got to Kennedy, and that came from being on the football team. I was never called Manny until I got to Kennedy.
So no
So
one on the football team at Cass called you that?
no.
Was that
Again, I
like your
was
sports
never.
name, or how did that come about?
How did what come about? I'm sorry, man. I didn't hear your question.
The name Manny, was that like your sports nickname? You know how like some people
Yeah,
have
they
names on
just
the field and
they just started calling me that on the football team. They just started calling me that. I think it was like I introduced myself as Emmanuel, obviously because I had never been called that before. And then like within the first 2 or 3 weeks, they were just like, we're just gonna call you Manny. And I was Manny from then on out. And my mom kind of hated it because she was like, I didn't name you Manny, I named you Emmanuel.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I guess that makes sense though, because Emmanuel is like a biblical name, right?
Yeah. Means God is with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she kind of got upset about that. But yeah, that nickname came from a football team. People just started calling me Manny and it stuck. Yeah, so it the social transition, to get back to Michael's question, in the classroom was kind of like people kind of came up to me and like introduced themselves, because I remember that whole first week before we had our game, before I was wearing the jersey, a lot of people didn't really talk to me. I didn't talk to a lot of people. And then once Friday came around and I was in my game jersey and everybody saw that I was on a football team, people started to talk to me more. And so that's when I started having social interactions and making friends.
Now,
What
outside
about
of just football, did you do any other kinds of activities inside of your junior year?
My
German
junior
club or chess club, or I don't know what other kinds of
my
crazy things.
junior year, I was so because the nerd in me still existed, even though I played sports, right? Like that didn't go away. So I was actually on the Quiz Bowl team. Uh, for those
for
of
what?
y'all who don't know what Quiz Bowl is basically like you go and you compete in a big game of trivia, essentially, against other high schools. So I was on the Quiz Bowl team my junior year. Played football, ran track. Trying to think of anything else I did my junior year. Yeah, I don't think I was involved in anything else my junior year. Those were kind of the two, and that was mainly because I was trying to get my foot in socially, and so I figured if I just stuck to sports and like maybe did one other thing, people would accept me more, which was very much true.
And what
Um,
about girls? Did you have the same girlfriend that you had when you acquired when you went to Cass? Did you guys break up when you went to a different school? And did you find somebody else? And not just looking at your junior year, both your junior year and senior year.
so my girlfriend that I had, my first girlfriend at Cass, we broke up with like within like 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. That didn't last, and I don't think I had another girlfriend my 10th grade year. Oh no, I did. I had another girlfriend who lived out in Taylor who went to Truman, and we broke up before I even got out to Taylor. Um,
Playa, playa.
before I even got out to Taylor, we broke up. So yeah, my 11th grade year, I didn't date anybody. Like I don't know. I was kind of oblivious to people like hitting on me or just like girls liking me. I was just kind of in my own little world, I guess, at that point. Like, just trying to establish myself at the school, I guess is what I would say. So I didn't really date anybody I want to say my junior year. My senior year, I had one girlfriend and we broke up.
What you
And that
doing
was during
there?
the
Why they
season.
all breaking up? Who broke up with who?
So freshman year she broke up with me. Sophomore year I broke up with her.
Mhm.
Junior or senior year I broke up with her, and then my last little girlfriend slash fling that I had towards the end of the year, who ended up being my prom date, she broke up with me. So give and take, give and take.
You broke up with you at prom or like after
That's what
prom?
I'm
No,
saying.
it was after, and it was because the reasoning was because I was going to school and she didn't want to hold me back and blase, blase, blase.
Oh, like
Some BS. Um,
Hey, we
that
hope you
wasn't
watching
right.
this, chick. You missed out. You missed your chance.
Yeah, you missed your boat. Yeah. So
um,
yeah, I mean that was kind of the thing. I didn't really have too many um other relationships. I dated. I'll say that.
So before we jump into the senior year and how that whole college or not college, high school experience ended before moving to college,
Mhm.
uh, was your dad present up to this point in terms of talking to him still, and how did those conversations go? How
Mhm.
involved was he within the things you were doing within those 3 years?
So the phone calls my junior year were a little bit less than they had been previously. Um, I don't remember talking as much to him then, especially because I was pretty much like on my own a lot. Like I was at a point where I was moving around a lot. So like I would ride with other football friends that I had met, who people who were genuinely became my friends. Um, I had met. So I would hang out with them. They would drive me, take me places and stuff like that. I'd be on the bus. So I wasn't with my mom as much, and my dad didn't call my phone that often. Uh, yeah, I wouldn't say the communication was super great. I mean, we talked every now and again.
Do you think that changed the relationship or bond for when you did talk to him, because it's almost like you're growing apart from talking to him less?
I would say so. I would say it could change the relationship a little bit if I'm talking to. It's like, when you go with friends, right? When you go from seeing somebody every day to then you start seeing them less and less and less, to the point where like you may see them like what maybe once a year when everybody get together for some trip or something like that. It changes the dynamic of your relationship. You know what I'm saying? it's
Right.
it's kind of the same way when you don't talk to somebody as much as you used to. It kind of changes that dynamic. So yeah, I would say it changed.
But
I would
what do you
definitely
think?
say it changed.
What do you think that came about though? Like, I mean, obviously he knew you changed schools, right, from
Mhm.
Cass to Kennedy. But like, why do you think he? Because I mean, again, for those now watching, your father, is imprisoned, and for him to talk to you, he had to call you. It's not like you
Right,
could
right.
call him, right? So why
Mhm.
do you think he stopped calling you as much? I mean, I'm not going to sit here in front like
Mhm.
everything in prison is just you just sitting around making phone calls all day. No, but why do you think he just started to drift away after a while?
I wouldn't say it was him drifting. I would say he probably called as much as he could. It's just whether it was the call was answered or not. And some of that, could have been on my part. And just thinking back to that time, that's when some of that resentment started coming in too, because I had gotten to a point um, where I was a little bit successful. Like my junior year, I didn't start off the season starting when I got to Kennedy, and then I eventually moved in that starting role, and I played really, really well. Uh, and so it was kind of like, oh man, some of the stuff that I would say to myself, oh man, if my dad was around, I would have been doing this beforehand. Or,
Okay.
I would be 10 times better than I already am, or, just stuff like that. So I just, I feel like at that point, some of that resentment has started to build up in me, to not want to talk to him as much. And, and then him and my mom just weren't on good terms either.
Okay.
So,
Did she, during that time, she have somebody else, because he's in prison for life? So other people you said were coming in. Was there somebody else in her life during that
yeah.
time?
She had another
And was did that individual play a role in any way within your high school? Since he was there visibly and physically, did he play a role in your growth within high school?
Nah, I wouldn't say he played a role. She had a fling with the dude, and his name was Jason. Um hey, he didn't play a
Are you sure
role.
his name was Jason? Or are we gonna get where she
I'm
could tell us,
I'm
hey,
one
his name was
thousand
Kenny?
percent I am
Michael,
ten
Michael.
thousand percent positive his name was Jason. The
All
Okay.
right.
only thing that I remember about that dude is he gave me these purple and black uh ones, Air Jordan ones, purple and black Air Jordan ones. Um that's the only thing that I remembered about him. Like we knew him previously, like but him and my mom weren't together. I guess they were just friends before or something like that. Um, and we had known him previously, known his mother and his daughter before. And so I guess they were a fling then. And so uh, that kind of happened. But no, I wouldn't say. Other than that, she wasn't taking nobody seriously, and he was not affecting my life at all.
Before we jump into senior year, I was listening to the question that Manny Lagunas has asked you about, the fact that they have to call you and contact
Right,
you. Um,
right.
but the fact of the matter is that it does work both ways. I've never had anybody in prison, but you could write letters and be that person that
Mhm,
still communicates to him.
mhm,
And
mhm.
so, did you do that? Why did you stop if you did? He also could have done that on top of phone calls. Um, why do you think that that was not something that was prevalent if it wasn't?
My dad always wrote me letters. I want to make that clear. He writes me letters to this day. Uh, he has always written me letters, even if we didn't talk on the phone. He always sent me letters to check in on me. Like, I mean, like I literally last week just got a letter from him. He always writes.
Okay. Well, why
That's not
did you write back, especially during
no.
your
I never wrote back, and
why?
I don't know. I don't know why.
Do you think
There's
that
this
that was
app
hurting
called,
him?
huh?
Do you think that hurt him, like to spend that? I know that when you're in prison, you have nothing but time, but as his son, he loves you. He's spending that time to call and to write you, and not hear back. How do you think that weighed in on him?
I think it hurt him from the standpoint of not the fact that I wasn't writing back, but the fact that he couldn't be there. And he's told me that multiple times. I don't think he necessarily cared about me writing back or, you know, picking up the phone. It's the fact that he felt like he missed out on something. Because at this point, I'm almost grown. Like, as a junior in high school, I'm 1 year away from being pretty much an adult. Um, and so, the conversations that we have and have had, at that point in my life, I remember him telling me, that he just regrets not being there. Like that was his thing. I wish that I could be there in person. That way it wouldn't need to be letters or phone calls or anything like that. It's an app called JPay that you can write letters through and send them to your loved ones through that. And I use that. I started using that more junior year because I could do that off my phone. You know, I could
So,
send little notes here and there from my
so
phone.
now I want to just kind of briefly talk about senior year and close out with how that ended. Looking at all the questions that we asked from junior year, how did that senior year play out in terms of, we obviously learned about girlfriend, you can't keep one longer than a year. We've learned about the fact that you had friends. Did you get that best friend? How did friends grow? Role models, positive and negative role models throughout that entire experience inside of Kennedy High School. Extracurricular activities. Did you grow to any other extracurricular activities? And then we'll move into graduation. But I think that I've given you enough to kind of talk about how was that senior year.
So senior year, I felt like I really came out of I don't think I was in a shell, but like my outgoingness was like taken up to 10. I felt like I was way more outgoing my senior year of high school. As far as friends go, my junior year of high school, I was friends with a lot of seniors. My friend Julius, Aaron, AJ is what we used to call him. Uh,
Because of football, like varsity.
we all played football. That was our connection, but we were just friends on a deeper level because we just hung out a lot.
Nice.
So as a junior, I hung out with a lot of seniors. So like all of those, like I was saying, Julius, AJ, Darius, like all of them graduated. So I kind of had to, like, I still have friends from football. I just had to migrate towards a different group of hanging out. And so that group of people was like Kevin Lasea, Marlon. Uh, we used to call him Q, but his name is Ravante Frost. Like Chemo. That was a group that I started to hang out with my senior year because all those people were seniors and we all played football together. Um, and that was a different experience, I would say, uh, because they were more into like partying and like I think that also helped bring out that other side of me. the outgoing side of me. So definitely, I would say my friend group changed for sure. As far as extracurriculars go, I started to do more. I did quiz bowl again my senior year, but I wasn't that invested in it. Played football again. I didn't do track, and then I met Michael. For those who don't know, and this is why I jab him all the time, because this is where our back and forth fist fights started. My second semester, I ended up having like being like a teacher's assistant for a gym teacher. Her name was Miss Stoddard, but she was out. And so Mr. Bowie over here, as I knew him then, Mr. Bowie was substituting for Miss Stoddard that whole semester. And so I was his teacher's assistant. And that turned into him telling me, you know, I have this play coming up for the drama club. You should audition for it. You know, he got down on his hands and knees and just begged me.
I guess I have to correct you like your mom did, because I don't remember anything about hands and knees and begging.
Begged me to try out for this play called Super Freaks. Just begged and begged and begged. And I was like, you know what? All right, man, I'll do it. You know, I'll do it for you. You seem like a cool guy. I kind of like you. So, you know, I'll do it for you. I'll try out for this play. Tried out for the play, did the play. That was, and you know, I would say that was a very valuable experience too, because being on stage, I was in plays before as a kid, but I never had a speaking role. And so being on stage and having to have that extra energy and like be more outgoing, but also be sharp and focused in what we're doing, I think was very good for me too. And then getting to meet a different group of people. I wasn't one of those popular people that like to pick on other people. Just not my thing, obviously, because I know it. Yes.
And after learning more about the story of Emmanuel Pierce, I'm so happy that you didn't push me as a teacher like you did other teachers when you were.
It was apparent. Yeah.
Adult.
Right. Yeah. So I got to hang out with a cool group of people. Got to know some people that I might not have ran in circles with before. So that was a really good experience. I'm so glad that I did that play. It was an awesome time, even though Mr. Bowie worked us to death, literal death. I can remember rehearsals where he was just getting frustrated because our lines were not as crisp as he would have liked them.
Okay, I'm going to jump in there. And I'm going to say nobody knew not even one line in completion after 3 months of doing this. Yeah, I was a little... how many times did I threaten to cancel the show?
At least 20. every rehearsal, he goes, I'm canceling this show.
It ain't happening, kids. It ain't happening.
But we did it. We memorized all our lines. We did it. When it came showtime, I think we had 2 shows. Then we did 2 shows, I believe.
We were supposed to do 1, I think, and then it would like so much we ended up doing a second show.
Yeah, we did. And we did pretty good. I think we had 2 pretty good audiences too when we did them. I think we did 2 shows. Again, time of my life. It was a blast. Obviously, except for Mr. Bowie again, ruining every rehearsal by threatening to cancel the show.
Hey, the secrets and those traits worked and pushed you guys to the limit to give you 20 chances. 20
but
plus.
Yeah, so that play was kind of the wrap of my senior year because that was the last thing that I did in high school. I mean, other than classes, like that was kind of really the wrap up in the spring semester because we did I want to say we did that play in like late May almost. So that was pretty much it. Like the last thing I did in school.
What was your prom then? Because
prom. I forget about that too. So prom was at Laurel Manor. It's in Livonia. It's like a convention center in Livonia. Oh. Again, the girlfriend that broke up with me, I went with her to prom. Prom was dope. Quick story about that though. So I went to prom. Prom was good. We all having a good time. And so, like I said, my new friend group that I hung out with more, they got a hotel room at Red Roof Inn, and so we were supposed to go.
Mom, Cover your ears.
Manny's face right now. We were supposed to go to the hotel room, and so like we went back and changed clothes or whatever. And I kind of took the wrong way, but I got there. But we never ended up going because none of them answered their phones.
No,
None of them answered their phones to let me in. So, yeah, my friends left me high and dry.
That's fucked up.
High and dry that night, but it's cool. We were still cool. I understood. That's because they were drunk, and maybe I always say maybe yeah, they were drunk.
Okay, yeah, just leave it at that. Don't leave
maybe God was shielding me from something that I didn't need to participate in. So yeah, but prom was I would say prom was good. It was a good time. I had a good time with my friends. I had a good time with my then kind of girlfriend.
Right.
It was a good experience.
Well,
Okay.
that's good. And then to close out, because the next episode we're going to talk about your college experience. The last part is graduation. You did a lot of different activities. Did you indulge in, or did you have any accolades within, education and classes or awards or anything, things that you achieved over that tenure of time? And how was graduation?
I got one. I know we're cutting up a time, but one quick thing I do have to say that we didn't mention. So I had friends also in church. So at the same time, my school situation was kind of turning around. My church situation was kind of turning around. It all kind of turned around at one time. So like, from being on the end of being picked on to being on the end of people like actually liking me, that whole thing kind of flipped all at the same time. And so two people that I have to mention that I would be remiss if I didn't mention was two friends that I made my junior year of high school, Nick and John Wicker. And I used to go to their house. They lived in Northville. Don't know where Northville is. This is like a suburb. They live in Northville, and I used to go to their house all of the time. And we talked about role models. Two people that I can say as role models. Their mother would always help me. She bought me clothes, different things like that, would try to teach me stuff. And their dad, their father, he was the quiet, strong type. So he didn't say much, but watching him showed me how a marriage should work, B, how to take care of your house, and C, how to raise your children. Silent lessons from him. So I learned a lot from those two people, and I want to thank them a lot for embracing me and bringing me into their family, because that's what they did. They treated me just like I was their son. So graduation, I graduated with like a 3.5 or 3.6 GPA. I don't know what the terminology for that is when you get awards. I had a gold tassel and I was in the National Honor Society. So I got one of those little stupid things that you put on and like a gold rope. Yeah, so those were my awards. I was smart, like I said. Always been smart.
Your tassel, Manny Lagunas, was that red, white, and green? So anyway, as we're closing out the show here,
all right.
I just want to say that we've learned a lot, and I definitely was going to kind of ask from that religious aspect, and or just hearing your story about like the Wicker family. It was Wicker, right?
Yeah, Wicker family.
And how they were kind of those role models, and to me, having a father that's in prison for life and not having that double parent, it seems like you got the best of both worlds because you had more than just one father. You had a lot of people to look up to that were looking out for you, there for you, as role models, as father figures, mother figures, whatever.
Yeah, I had a lot of people. I had a lot of people embrace me. My youth pastor, Pastor Orlando, he embraced that. Like that's what I said. The whole shift. Even the adults at the church started to embrace me a little more.
I just wish that somebody would have got to you sooner and taught you the value of not pushing adults and everything. I think that that's a very important lesson that definitely needs to be learned at an early age.
I wish somebody would have got to you sooner and taught you the value of keeping your hair.
They would have had to threaten
keeping your hair and not letting your hairline escape.
They would have had to threaten you with canceling you going to school or being a part of the football team 20 times, and maybe you'll get it right not to push adults. But the fact of the matter is, I think we've learned a lot, and I look forward to jumping.
Are you canceling the show? Is this you threatening to cancel the story?
I will cancel this show. We don't get this shit together. And I'll do it every ending of this show. But I think that we've learned a lot, and I look forward to jumping in next week when we jump into your college years, because we are narrowing that end of the story of Emmanuel Pierce. We've already learned so much about what you've gone through, your relationships, bonds, role models, and everything. I want to thank everybody else for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell, do all that jazz, whatever you need to do. Let us know what you guys think about the show. Uh, oh, okay. I didn't know if you were doing sign language or
No,
like
I'm pointing at the subscribe button, but I
is
don't
that
know if they
were
if
you
it's up
doing
here.
sign language in Spanish? I don't really even know at this time. But I want to thank everybody. Like I said, don't forget to let us know. I mean, that feedback really helps a lot. And if you're interested, hit us up in the comments. Maybe you could be the next person on here sharing the story of yourself. So, as always, thank you again, Manny Pierce, for being here. Emmanuel Pierce.
As always, thank you for having me.
And we will see everybody next week.